if we tolerate what is happening in Gaza, then it's game over for all of us.
Welcome to the Higher Love with Megan podcast with me, your host, Megan Cooper, a trauma-informed therapist, life coach and disruptor of wellness norms based in Brighton, UK. This isn't another nice-to-have wellness podcast. Instead, this podcast seeks to redefine what it means to be well in today's world. Here, we challenge the status quo, seek to reunite wellness with social justice and improve accessibility, diversity and inclusivity within wellness and beyond. As a listener, you are not here to passively consume. Instead, you are an ambassador for real, embodied, societal and systemic change in the world. As your host, I stand for radical self-inquiry and being able to have those confronting but necessary conversations so that we can remember our collective humanity at this time. We're here for the revolution and you've got a front row seat. So welcome, Jen, and welcome, Georgia.
Thank you, Megan. This is a treat.
I know this whole conversation's come about by me DMing you, Jen, and I was laughing yesterday on the podcast listening to you guys on The Guilty Feminist talking about when you DM'd Penelope Cruz. So I'm so glad that DMing's become normalised.
I think we need to. If you otherwise, the DMs are open. If you don't want me to contact you, close your DMs. You can absolutely do that. If your DMs are open, I'm going to contact you. Fact.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Totally.
Yeah, you just got to take a leap of faith. That's how Jen and I connected, was just random DM conversation. You've got to do it.
Totally. Yeah. And I complain a lot about Meta, but for this reason, thank you for, for the ability for us to connect in time and space. Anyway, we will dive in. So obviously today I wanted to discuss the work of All Our Relations, which is an amazing organization that I have supported periodically since you guys set up. And I know a lot of other people who have. So I really just wanted to center the work that you guys do and bring it to my listeners.
So that means a lot.
For those who haven't come across All Our Relations, I would love for one of you, both of you, to introduce the work that you do and also let people know what that looks like today.
Georgia, I'm going to let you lead because I always feel like in these instances, you're far more articulate than me.
Oh, no. Says the professional over here. Are you kidding? No. Okay, I'll do my best. I guess what I could say as well is I'll open with how I guess it started, and then Jen can share more as well about where it's got to so far, where we are now, because Jen and I have been in this from the beginning. Of course, we started it together, but it started as a random idea that I had while I was out walking my little boy. And at the time, I was individually helping 3 families through Instagram. Again, we thank Meta for this, at least. Instagram's been the main way that during this, since October 7th, those in Gaza have been contacting the outside world and sharing their stories. And so I wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating. Jen was the same. And it was what I could do from my little corner of the world was to just help 3 different families I was working with on an individual basis and just trying to help them platform their campaigns and get them out there, their GoFundMe campaigns, to try and raise money to evacuate, which at the time was a possibility. You could evacuate for a very large sum of money, but it was possible to evacuate. So I was doing this for a while, but I realized that what I realized was working, and this is at the very basis of All Our Relations, is the human connection. It's, okay, what can we do to help people on a practical level, on a financial level? How can we get their stories out there? But really at the very foundation, what I realized was having a massive effect was just by virtue of the fact that I wanted to connect with the individuals and their stories and the people and what their daily changing circumstances are, what their needs are. And that was where the idea for All Our Relations came about, because I thought, what if we can do something which is really tailored to individual families' needs? Every human being is a whole universe. Every family is so different. The circumstances, everything, Palestinians in Gaza are not an amalgam. This is where we have to remember and rehumanize. There's been such dehumanization of Palestinians. Rehumanize them, that they're just like us. And so I just really want to I thought, what if we could do this on a larger scale? But it was just an idea. And then I'm just so grateful that Jen and I just happened to get talking on Instagram. And I thought, you know what, I'll just share this idea with her. And Jen was already doing a lot of work, but wanted, like me, was like, what else can I do? And she jumped onto this idea with me, and we just went for it together, literally overnight after a 1-hour phone conversation. And we just went for it. And obviously that whim was, our instincts were right, because as hard as this journey is and has been, I think in our heart of hearts, we've known all along, like, we just want to keep going and do what we can. So what we do is, our focus is we now have 18 families that are, most of them are in Gaza. A few of them have evacuated to outside of Gaza. So 2 of those, there's sort of 2 pockets of people in Egypt and 1 in Abu Dhabi, but mainly in Gaza. And we are doing all we can to connect with them on a daily basis, understand what their needs are, grow a relationship. A lot of our families, mostly and ever more so, have individual family liaisons. So people that are dedicated to them. And so the idea is that we really want to platform their stories, to share their stories, and to support them as best as we can financially, at least for the basic means of survival. So rent, if that applies to them, water, food, medicine, just these very basic, because everything has been stripped from them. Almost everything you can imagine. And so whatever we can do to provide some kind of regrounding, so that there's some kind of agency, there's some kind of hope, so that they can at least even begin to take step by step through every day to look towards the future and to rebuild their lives, whatever that looks like for them, whether that's inside of Gaza, outside of Gaza. But that's our intention. There's many acts of solidarity with the Palestinian people, but that's ours, is we're trying our best to stand by them and with them, to essentially keep them alive when everything is against them. Everything. It's just unfathomable, the violence against their very being in this moment. So yeah, I mean, there's more to say too about ourselves and what we're doing and where we're at now. But I don't know, Jen, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, that does bring us up to date. And what we're doing now is more of the same. It's a very difficult thing to fully, unless you have day-to-day interaction with people in Gaza, it's quite difficult to summarize. But what I would say is that the situation now that there is a blockade and that aid is being blocked and the ceasefire is over, the situation is now worse than it was pre-ceasefire. And I think it's because it doesn't get anything on legacy media, doesn't cover this at all. Or if it does, it's like page 12 in a broadsheet. And so what we keep trying to do is try to amplify what is happening in Gaza so that people have a greater understanding that 5 days ago, all aid was blocked. And I just want to be clear that when we talk about aid, people sort of conflate aid with, oh, what do you mean? Oh, I don't know, medicine or blah, blah, blah. Aid is just what a human being needs to live. Okay, so when we talk about aid, we just mean food, clean water. Yes, medicine, of course, medicine. Shelter. There is constantly there's like any number of propaganda stories around what is happening to aid and why people aren't in receipt of aid. But the reason people aren't in receipt of aid in Palestine, whether it be in the West Bank or whether it be in Gaza in particular, is that it is being blocked. And when it is allowed in, it is allowed to be raided. So then the IDF are fully aware that this is happening. If they wanted it to stop, then they would escort these aid trucks to aid agencies to ensure that it is distributed, but they allow it to be raided. We know that these gangs exist. We know that the IDF are in cahoots with them. This isn't me making this crap up. This is just fact. And then I have never, ever in my 50 years of being alive seen a situation as horrendous as what is happening to the people of Gaza. And then the expectation that they will buy aid. So UNICEF or Red Cross or Action Aid will ensure that aid gets into Gaza, and then the people are expected to buy it back. So the reason why we exist isn't because aid is not available, isn't because these charities are not investing in Gaza. It's because aid is not getting to people. So what we have done, and the only reason we are here, and that is the conversation that Georgia and I had over a year ago, was us saying, what we're going to do is we are going to temporarily, because we thought naively, how long can this go on for? Oh my God, how bloody stupid were we? We're going to try and fill that gap. There is aid, but people are but they're not getting it. So they have to buy it back. Okay, so we will be the people that ensure that aid gets to these families. And that's what we are doing. We are the bridge between the aid agencies and the families. So when people are saying to me, I'm giving to this charity, I'm giving to that charity, I certainly am not telling anyone to stop doing that. That is still incredibly important. But what needs to be addressed, and what has not been addressed for the entirety of this genocide, is why is this aid not being escorted to the humanitarian agencies that exist on the ground in Gaza, whether they be grassroots organizations or whether they be big agencies like UNRWA? Why is that aid not reaching them? So when people say to me, I know aid is getting in, sure. But now these people are having to buy it back. When we get a tent from UNICEF, we have to buy it.
It's like up to $1,000.
It's $800 up to, at one point, $1,500 to buy a tent after these people's homes have been bombed. So look, the injustice of it, of everything that is happening to the Palestinian people makes my piss boil. I'm absolutely in a state of complete anger. And both Georgia and I were constantly, although Georgia expresses her anger very differently to me, I rant and rave, and Georgia internalizes it a bit more. But we were both in a point where we're like, fuck this. We're not going to stand by and not do anything. So that was the seed for all our relations, was that we would be the bridge to gap that, to get aid to people. And I'm going to say, up until this point, we have been very successful at doing that. The situation now, with the ceasefire being broken again by Israel, okay, let's be clear who's breaking this, the terms of this ceasefire, means that not only are we dealing with people who now are back where they started from, with no aid, no food, and everything is now tripled in the markets, and no more aid, and no more food is coming in. Okay, we are also now dealing with people who are experiencing extreme trauma. That gap, that space where there was a ceasefire, has now meant that trauma has now, that sense of fight or flight left just for a brief moment, has created a huge amount of trauma and a huge amount of depression and a huge amount of anxiety that I think a lot of people were able to just compartmentalize, just to keep down, because it was just a day-to-day, just stay alive. So the situation now, dare I say it, is way worse.
Yeah.
But people have donation fatigue. People have moved on. We're talking about Ukraine. We're talking about the end of NATO. We're talking about the new world order has changed, where the US is aligned with Russia. All of these things are hugely head fucks beyond anything that people can really get their head around. So Gaza is just a tiny little branch on that tree of dystopia. So it's very difficult for us to keep reminding people there is a genocide. There is no help. Your donation, it makes a difference, because it does. It hugely makes a difference, certainly to the people that we're working with and for.
Wow.
And that is the thing that is hard for Georgia and I. And we're up against things like, yes, Meta has been very useful for us, but now it's punishing us. It's strangling. The algorithm is completely strangling everything that we do. When basically my Instagram profile has been highlighted, so they know what I'm doing. So posts are not reaching people. So we don't have that reach. We don't get the same amount of donations. People are tired. All of these things together, Megan, make a perfect storm of us being in a situation now where food has quadrupled and we can't help people.
Before we go on, I'd so appreciate you to hit follow or subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, click those 3 little dots next to settings to rate the show. On Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review, or take a moment to explore how you can rate or review on the platform that you're listening or watching. This makes a difference. I truly believe we need to have more of these conversations to shake up the status quo. We'll beat the algorithm together with your clicks and shares. Now back to the episode. I couldn't believe how expensive food was, because when I heard, food prices are really expensive, I had an idea of what that might look like. But then I listened to the podcast that you did with a Guilty Feminist talking about tents being, as you just said, $800, $1,000. It's unbelievable.
A pack of nappies, $100.
Yeah, it's difficult to firstly, it's difficult to reconcile that this is even happening. We're like, I just can't get my head around how this is allowed to happen. Then it's hard to handle how it's being reported. You're like, the way it's been, like the latest headline that I saw from Sky News about as a decision made by Hamas has meant that Israel are having to rethink the ceasefire agreement or whatever. There's no Hamas have said, release these hostages. You can have, they've been saying it for, I'm no Hamas apologist, but Hamas have been very clear. Take all of these hostages, give us these hostages, stick to the terms of the agreement, which is that you will get out of Gaza so that we can rebuild it. And look, we all know the reason none of that is ever going to happen is because the second there's peace, Netanyahu's going to be up in court. And he doesn't want peace.
No.
He doesn't want peace.
Nor do the powers that be want peace. They preach peace. But this is making them a shit ton of money. That's the sad thing, and this is what Jen noted. And I think this is, like you say, the huge thing that we are confronting now, being in touch with these families every day. And it's not easy to be that up close, but it's everything, because you see the effect this is happening. And as Jen mentioned, this is a psychological war as much as it is anything else. The length of what you see them do, they even during the ceasefire, they would hover drones around that were playing voices of screaming women in the middle of the night, because why not? And we just humor and support these absolute, honestly, quite frankly, this sociopathic behavior. Anyway, but yes, as Jen's saying, now that's what we're facing, because that's we have always been very hesitant about this ceasefire. Jen and I were like, when it happened on January the 19th, we were like, we just want to raise a glass with each other. But there was just this deep feeling of, at the end of the day, this is not fragile, not in the best interest of the powers that be. And here we are 6 weeks later also. And that's the worst part, is that so much hope has lifted amongst the families that we are in contact with, and now we're seeing it crash down, plummet, and the messages we're getting are of such despair. And so we're just thinking, can we at least assure them that they can feed their children tomorrow? And that's the only thing that we can do, right? Jen and I we look at the news, we watch what's happening, we flurry into, of course, despair, anger, just rage against it all, but then we just like try and come back to, okay, one foot in front of the other, what can we do? And that's just why we're just focusing our best on fundraising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was something that I've heard you guys talk about, which is highlighting the importance of agency as well, to give that back to people as far as is possible, for people who've had pretty much all agency removed from their lives, and that being a really important part of rehumanizing people. Can you speak a bit to that?
When Georgia and I first talked about starting All Our Relations, and we started it with a friend as well, Alex, who had to take a step back because she had so much other things going on in her life, but who was extremely important to the creation of All Our Relations. And the conversations that the three of us always had, were always around agency. So what we didn't want to do is we didn't want to create an organisation or an NGO or a non-profit where people were dependent on us in the long term. What we wanted to do was offer people the opportunity to have choices. Now, in the beginning, it was always going to be in the short term, to give them an income so that they could make choices around what they wanted to do with their money, as opposed to, here's some tin of Spam and some flour. Here's $500. What do you need? You know what you need. You go out and get it. But now the thing that we're trying to do in the long term is create a separate income for each family. So we created a scheme whereby, and this is only very new and it's only just started, and we haven't got everybody on board because we need volunteers, bank accounts. We need other people to give up their bank account to use, to give it up, but to share it with the family. And the idea being that what we're trying to do is say to people, would you consider sponsoring this family every month, whatever you can afford? I'm suggesting £5 to £25 a month if you really don't have a huge disposable income, then £5 a month cost of a coffee, and that will be a revenue stream. Now, to begin with, it's not going to be much. I've got one family, Ashraf and his wife and 4 children, and so far we've managed to generate £60 a month for him. Now that's not a lot of money. I know that, but that's £60 that he's guaranteed. He's never had that since the start of October. He's never had a guaranteed income. He's never known what was going to come in. So I can say to him, listen, you now know every month we got 60 quid. Now we're going to try and work on getting that up. And what we want to do, and we haven't managed to get it for all the families yet, but I think, how many families have we got, Georgia, that we've out of the 18? I think we've got
about
6.
6 or 7. So
it takes a while because we need a dedicated person to manage that family and give up and let them use the bank account. But so far we have 6 families, and I will begin to start doing a reel for each family to say, please, if you can, donate to this family, blah, blah, blah. And that is a long-term thing. Because if it's £5 a month, £60 a year, you might say, yes, I can do that over a long term. I could do that for a few years. You might be able to do that rather than say, oh, I'll give 50 quid a month and I can only do it for 3 months. I just want people to give whatever they can afford, £1 a month. It doesn't matter, but just to give that family a revenue, give that family an income, give that family security, financial agency, and some self-worth.
There's something that comes up for me within all of this that I think for a lot of us, up until this point, I'll speak to myself. I saw solidarity as, I'll just give X amount here, X amount there, X amount over here. But what we're really talking about here is like long-term solidarity. As you said, Jen, this is not a thing that's just going to fix itself overnight. A whole population, a whole area of land has been totally devastated, which isn't just like a quick fix. This is like a long-term solidarity movement. And I feel like it's really demanding from all of us that we do things differently and that we see things differently. And there's a lot that has to change, like within ourselves, to really commit to something like that long term. Would you say along those lines?
I definitely would. I think that something that's been at the heart of this, like Jen mentioned, that we've been speaking about from the beginning about restoring agency as much as possible, is around that whole thing of solidarity, not charity. That solidarity, I saw a description of solidarity which said that if it doesn't really inconvenience you in some fundamental way in your life, like bring you into a place of more discomfort, essentially, and giving up some of that comfort, then it isn't true. It isn't true solidarity. And of course, naturally, okay, so Jen and I, in our own lives, have taken that to somewhat of an extreme, and in the sense that we so many parts of our lives and our health, I would say, at certain times and everything, we've struggled for sure. Like and some would look at us and say, there's different choices you can make on a whole different spectrum. And some friends and family of mine have certainly looked at the choices I've made since October 7th and gone, oh my God, you've gone way too far. Like you are just, and okay, that's just true to my nature. And at some point, okay, the pendulum needs to swing back a little bit and I've got to look after myself, my health, and my family and my little boy and all of the things. But what I know to be true is that I am sitting in the white ivory tower of the world, quite literally. I was born into it. I was raised in it. I was educated in it. And that was built on the broken backs of everything that we are witnessing right now at its most manifested extreme in Gaza. What's going on in Sudan and Congo, likewise, also. And so, absolutely, this is a solidarity movement for the long term in terms of rebalancing things to some degree. Lord knows there needs to be a rebalancing on this planet. We can see it ecologically, and that is mirrored socially. And that means that we must give up some of our comfort. Like we have to see the privilege where it is. We have to see the imbalance and the injustice where it is. And I think that's the other thing, is that, as Jen was saying, the eyes have gone off Gaza, right? Like the hot topic that it was, especially when we first started this organization, which was in May, and the Rafah invasion had just began. And that post went viral of all eyes on Rafah, etc. And we got a lot of donations because of that. The sort of on trendness of that is not the case right now, and the headlines etc are in other places, and I'm interested in all those things and my eyes are on all those things. But I think that what has pulled me towards Gaza from the beginning, and I know it's the same for Jennifer, I feel like this is always through the ages, this is what defines us as human beings and has to define us as human beings, and indigenous cultures have lived this way for thousands of years, and that is why as human beings we're still on this freaking planet through it all, is because we together we must move in a way where our first priority is to look to and move towards those who are struggling and hurting the most. Or who are we and on every measurable level, that is the people of Gaza and Sudan and Congo. And there is something particular to Gaza because this is an occupation, because they are under siege, because they literally cannot leave. They can't escape. So I guess I just wanted to say that I feel that in this moment, in terms of being in solidarity with oppressed people, especially from our positions of privilege, whatever they look like for us, it does, as you say, Megan, there's got to be some way that we now move forward in the world differently. Whatever that looks like for you, with whatever means, because this is going to be a difficult time for everyone. There's no doubt we are going into more and more difficult challenges, but there has to be some kind of consistent commitment and reorientation. And so even if that looks like £20 a month, £25 a month, whatever it is for you. But yeah, I agree. That's, yeah.
And something that I really hear in there, Georgia, and thank you for sharing all of that. For me, I feel like Palestine has been the biggest leveler for me as an individual over the past couple of years. And what I mean by that is when October 7th happened, I realized I didn't know anything really about this issue, and I had to learn a lot very quickly. And as I was doing so, it also took me down these rabbit holes of understanding fully around the interplay of systemic oppression, racism, and it took me into all of these different avenues as to why the fuck don't I know about this? Why haven't I had an interest in this? Oh, because I've led this very comfortable life where I haven't had to think about all of this stuff because of my own privilege. And how do I actually then, what needs to happen within me in order for me to actually lean in and step into this and stay in this, as opposed to, oh, I'll just donate £20 to make myself feel better for 5 minutes and then go back to my normal, comfortable life. It's actually demanded that I have to do a lot of self-development, like inner work, to actually stay in the room with all of it, all of the time. If that makes sense. And I feel like with this issue in particular, the fact that it's been live streamed on the internet every single day, the complete horror show of it all, it's really demanded that I stay in the room with it in a different way to perhaps what I was doing with other solidarity or charity movements before. I feel like this has really demanded a massive up-leveling of who I am and who I want to be in the world. Is that the same for you guys?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think for me, Palestine has always been an issue in as much as my understanding of the creation of Israel, of the apartheid, of the occupation, of the interests of the Western imperialist interests in that region and what it demanded and why things are happening and why we don't know, because it's not in it's not in the interests of our government, of our institutions, of our society for us to know. And that it takes very little to pull on that thread and see the whole thing unravel. And that is basically what has happened since October 7th, is that all of us have started to pull on the thread and we've realized, hang on a second, this is going out a lot longer than I expected. And for a lot longer, it's still pulling it. Like we've seen it. It has literally, the mask has slipped and we see everything and we see our complicity. We see our inertia, the whole capitalism and neoliberalism is literally built on us only giving a fuck about ourselves. Don't look over there. Don't look over there. Don't worry about them. You just look forward and worry about numero uno. Now, we can see clearly that hasn't worked, not just for people who have less than us, but for us.
collectively.
Collectively, as the very idea that there is no society, the very idea that we are not all interconnected as human beings is a lie. And we see it for what it is. And we see it in Palestine because they are the front line of resistance. And we see, if we tolerate what is happening in Gaza, then it's game over for all of us. And not it's if you think that what they're doing in Palestine, that they won't do it against us or against you or against your children, you're deluded. You're deluded. Absolutely. This isn't about Hamas. This isn't about terrorism. This is about power. This is about unfettered power and money and greed. And that's all it is. And once you know that, then what can you do but go, fuck this, I'm not going to. The very idea that any of our careers matter is a joke. When I have people saying to me, this might affect your career, I'm like, but what career? At the expense of what? In about 5 years, you're not going to have a career, babe, if we don't do something. If you think in 5 years' time, we're not all going to be completely fucked, you're mad. So get on board, get shouting, get campaigning, get moving. Because
get uncomfortable.
Get uncomfortable. But find this incredible community of people. I'm not saying there is zero positivity about what is happening in Gaza. Let me just make that very clear. But what I have been absolutely dumbfounded by is the community that are behind Palestine are the best human beings you're ever going to meet. The best human beings, because they will go out and make themselves uncomfortable. They will take risks. They will lose work. They will stand up for what is right. And they will be there for you when you need them. And you know what? Those people protecting their careers and those people protecting their jobs and those people protecting themselves, they're going to need us. They don't know it yet. And they're going to be asking us for help. And we will help them. We will, of course, help them. But we need people to start jumping on. And it's never too late. It isn't. And that's the other thing I would say. Some people have said to me, I feel like if I come on now, it's just going to be embarrassing because everyone's going to go, where were you? I'm like, fuck those people. You're welcome. Join us anytime because we're all going to have to get together very soon. I think just switch on the news if you're unclear.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm so glad that you brought that in because it's interesting. Well, I've had messages from people being like, what were your thought processes or choices, or how did you reconcile being able to speak about Palestine or being able to talk outwardly about things? And I'm like, it wasn't a choice. I couldn't keep it in anymore. It wasn't should I maybe mention this? It was like, I can't not talk about this stuff because I'm thinking about it for 23 hours and 59 minutes every single day. I can't not talk about it. And I think my first video into all of this was me slamming the wellness industry in a kind of 90-second outpouring of, I don't give a fuck what any of you have to say if you're not engaged in important shit that's happening in real time. But it just, and over the last year, it hasn't felt like a choice. Like it's just felt like a river that's just, you're just in it. You're in the stream.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this liberation movement, right? The liberation of the Palestinian people and how we are we're just on fire. This isn't unjust. The occupation must end. Yes. But I love this quote that said, I read it a while back, that said, we are not freeing Palestine. Palestine is freeing us. And that there is just there is so much emotion and inner and outer transformation that is coming, that is this collectively happening as a result of this. But I absolutely agree with you that there was never any choice. And the first thing that happened was that Jen touched on it, but seeing what was happening immediately after October 7th, I remember that there was some journalists who were sharing the news, and there were some doctors standing there and some journalists, and they were literally surrounded by dead people and by people holding their dead family members. And this was just literally, I think this was on October 12th or something like that. And there was a quote that said, because we saw this and then just allowed it to continue, the line was just crossed already, like it was gone. And I remember seeing that and then seeing the media narrative, and then 99% of the narratives of the people around me and every cell in my body started screaming involuntarily. So all day, every day, it was just like stories, Instagram stories and reels of me talking and me. I don't even, whatever, you just do whatever you can do from your corner of the world. But I've always cared about issues. I've honestly gone through like deaths and rebirths and rage that when I've freaking howled in caves, God knows what I've done. And so I feel like I was somewhat ready for this moment, in that what I know happens is that we watch this, we see this, and as Jen said, this is the thing, is that we are not freeing Palestine, Palestine is freeing us, because it is pulling the back after, it's pulling the veil off of everything, the interconnectedness of all of this, that and the most obvious thing of it being what is happening in Gaza and Palestine. So capitalism, imperialism, the military industrial complex, the every level fuckery, excuse my language, but of all of this, and how it's all interconnected, and it absolutely affects you and your children, even though you might not even realize it yet. So that seeing what happens, that is a natural response, is that the rage of what we're witnessing, but then the rage of, I now see all of this. How, why, what was all that wasted time growing up, like this education that I got, quote unquote? Is this story of the world that I've been told? That was my rage. That was my paralyzing rage of, I have been so utterly lied to. And that was hard to that's hard for the body to reconcile with. And that takes time. And I think that's where we do need to make friends with our anger, like big time. It is, big time. And yeah, and there's something liberating about that. Absolutely. And like you say, it's not a choice, but I guess what we do have to recognize is, where that isn't this instinctive response, we do need to get really curious and think about why and how is our body responding this way. If we're responding to a literal live stream genocide, like the veil could not have been pulled back more back right now. If you are not responding to that, seeing that and going, that could be my children, that is my child, that is my child. If you're not feeling that, then how numbed have we become? And that is by design. That isn't, like you say, it's not even necessarily your fault. Like, we were all raised to be hyper individualistic and to not see our own white children, let's say, in the eyes of that brown child. So we have got to resist against that hard and fast as we can. And I don't know.
I think on top of that as well, the messaging around being powerless is also a really big thing. Lots of people say, oh, but can you actually do a lot? And there is this kind of, I can't impact that much change, so why bother, is a big thing that I've also recognized in others. But I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was talking about the narratives within capitalism that by design want you to feel powerless because they're not going to do shit. I also feel, and this is what I mean by this big kind of up leveler within this issue, because it demands almost that everything that you've been told, everything that you think needs inquiry, literally everything.
And that's the issue. That's the problem, it really, Megan, is because it requires critical thought, you know. So that's just as a rule with any kind of left-wing debate or conversation or subject, is that you are going to have to require some critical thinking in order to get your head around what is being said, okay? And then it's very easy to make sense of it. It's not that it's suddenly so cerebral that you can't understand it, but it's not a soundbite. And that's what the right are good at doing, is they're great at creating sound bites and saying, oh, yeah, the reason why you're having a terrible life is, look at that brown guy over there, it's his fault. Okay, so that's been the narrative since I was born, certainly, is blame the brown guy or woman. But here's the thing. When people say to me about Palestine, they say to me, it's too complicated and that's why I don't want to get involved. I'm like, it's not complicated. Okay, I don't even want you to delve back into the history. Okay, although the history is there was a country and then someone built a country on top of it. Do you think that's a good idea? I personally don't. But anyway, let's leave that out of it for now. There is a genocide happening. And you can use your platform to say ceasefire. That's it. Now, all you're saying is, please stop killing innocent women and children. That's not complicated, and you can use your platform to do that. And yet people were terrified. Now, I understand it up to a point, because any one of us that has a platform or has a certain amount of followers, if you did, sure, absolute tsunami of messages and abuse and all of that. But frankly, I think we all need to get a little bit more robust.
We're 18 months in now, because it's
certainly at the beginning, when I was saying ceasefire in October, November, yes, there was a tsunami, but you can say it now. You can say it now. It's safe. You're not going to lose your job. You're not going to be vilified. You will get some people calling you an anti-Semite. That never ends. But I'm going to say a lot of those are bots. There is no risk. There's no risk.
Pro-Palestinian documentary just won an Oscar. I think that we can now...
I think we can all say, and look, this time next year, God knows where we'll be, but it will be even easier to say it. We're in the slipstream, Megan, that we all found and got into, and maybe it wasn't quite as quick back then, but it's certainly moving at speed now. And now is the time to jump on and jump in and join, because you don't need to there's nothing to fear. There is a wonderful community here to support you, and you will only be thankful and grateful to be involved. And I'll tell you what else, you'll sleep a hell of a lot better. You sleep a hell of a lot better. I have anxiety. I have permanent anxiety about all of our families all of the time, but I sleep well knowing that I'm doing what I can do, what I can do as an individual. So, yeah.
I would love to just circle back to all our relations and how to support you. I'm conscious of the time and appreciate you have lots to do. I just want to circle back. I know that you can support monthly. I know that you can support ad hoc donations. And I know also now that you can support families directly. What would you like people to do in an ideal world? What's best for you guys?
It's tricky. We, as an organisation, and we're a non-profit, we're not a charity, there's never a moment we don't need money. So what we do is what I would love in the ideal world is for all our relations to be there to provide the basics and the essentials for families, so that they have some sort of security to know that they can feed their families. But long term, what I want is for each family to have an income of their own. And that income can be used to save money so that they can rebuild their homes and so that they can rebuild their lives. And should the blockade ever lift, and if they want to, so that they can evacuate. So it's a tricky one. We need, in an ideal world, I'd say, please, can you give us £5 a month, and can you give a family £5 a month? I realise that is not possible for most people, but either would be doing us a solid. One, you would be helping a family have a future, and one, you would help us help families in the immediate now, as in now. So both are extremely important.
Yes, and just to note as well that what we're focusing on now with the Supporting Families Monthly is this new thing that we're doing. It's called Sponsor a Family. It's on our website. When you go onto our website, it's there. The link is also in our bio on Instagram. In fact, I think there's a short link. If you just go bit.ly/ or bit.ly, as it's called, bit.ly / AOR sponsor, it will take you to that page where you can read about all the different families that currently have a campaign, a fundraising page where you can donate monthly. Yeah. But and also we do have a shout out to the 3 wonderful on the ground initiatives that have been led by 3 different families that we've been in connection with since we started, and one of them just after we started, Ashraf. But all 3 of these families, there's Mohammed Alatrash and 4 of his friends in Nusrat. They're the Nusrat team. There's Abdo Al-Najjar and his family in Khan Yunis. And then there's Ashraf, who also does some work on the ground. And he's in Al-Mawasi.
And he basically, we gave him enough money to adjust tents and rebuild tents so that they were suitable for winter, because there's so much rain. And most tents, people are like ankle deep, if you can imagine, in February. It's just horrendous. So all of those projects also are incredibly important, and they help the wider community, not just us, but where our families are living. So yeah, all of those are extremely important as well.
Yeah. And you can support those either by donating to us directly, but also slowly but surely each one of those teams are having their own campaign page as well, where you can donate monthly to them. But it's all interconnected, with us.
And you guys also do events, fundraising events and various things as well, right? So there's lots of things to look out for.
Yes, we're going to be launching Camp for Gaza again. Yeah, we did
For the
it.
summer.
We were so slow off the bat last year, weren't we? We launched it in September. And we were like, who's camping in September? But anyway, nobody.
It was our beta mode of Camp for Gaza.
We did it just as a trial, and it did actually work. And we did raise, I think we raised £3,000 or £4,000 from it out of 3 weeks. So it was really great and it was successful. But we're going to launch that soon. And the idea being that you, if you are going on a camping holiday, or if you want to go camping, or if you want to do something with a bunch of friends, that you get a pack from us and you donate a certain amount of money to all our relations. We're suggesting £20, and you can take photos of yourself. We'll give you various different things that you can use while you're camping. And that's another means. And that again was something that we wanted to do, to be in solidarity, because so many families have lived since October 7th in a tent. And we will also be doing a mini festival in Sussex.
Great.
Yeah, as part of Camp for Gaza.
I live in Sussex, so this is great for me.
Oh yeah, so we're going to do. Megan, you've got to come.
Yes.
And it will have comedy, it will have cabaret, and we're going to have also chefs cooking as well.
Amazing. Do you have that yet, or
we do? We have that. It's not launched yet, but it will be in July, and the dates that we have will be 8th to the 10th of July.
Yeah.
So,
amazing.
Yeah,
we'll
see
you there, Megan. Yeah.
And there'll be we've got other events that we're launching, but we'll definitely tell. They're comedy. They're all comedy and music, basically.
Comedy and music, yes, because that's what we did. We did the music event in November in Hackney Wick, Turn Up for Gaza, and so we're going. That's what we're doing this year, isn't it, Jen? That we're going to continue some comedy and music events that
music,
also Turn Up for Gaza,
and a club night.
Amazing.
Yeah, so keep your ear to the ground.
Here for the long term, kids.
Yes.
Is there anything, I mean, I've got a million other questions that I want to ask you guys, but is there anything else that you guys wanted to include for the episode today?
No, I don't think so. I just think follow us. We've got an Instagram page. If you're not following us, please do. And we've got a mailing list. We'd love you to join, because the algorithm is killing me. All of that is very useful.
Yes.
But also that decentralization, I suppose that's part of this, isn't it? Is that to just we're going to try and migrate over to doing mail outs as much as we can. So signing up to our mailing list will be super, super helpful. And that's on our link tree in our Instagram bio. And I guess something that came to mind that I would just like to share as well, that I realized this is just at the heart of all our relations, and something that I would just really encourage anyone listening, and that's of benefit to the people in Gaza and to organizations like us, but also to us as individuals, is this feels like this is such a huge issue, and we look at the headlines, or we look at the journalists sharing from Gaza and from the West Bank as well. But I just know that what is so transformative and important is to connect with families individually. Like that's what, and just to get up close and see. And really, just because when you do that, if you have a conversation with a family for more than 5 minutes, and again, thanks to Instagram, we can do this. And that's how I started. That's how Jen did. You just can't help but feel that abundant, overwhelming truth of we are all brothers and sisters, and that we have been so lied to and pulled away from that truth by design every day of our lives since our birth. These people are so different to us in so many ways, right? I'm not religious, nor is Jen. There's so many things that would seemingly make us so worlds apart, but immediately when you have a conversation with them, and I think that is so important to decondition ourselves from all the lies, but number two, also to really understand what is going on for the people of Gaza, and to connect with it in the ways that we should be connecting with it as best we can.
And to that end, I would say that there, as always, I've collected a few more families, but who we can't, unfortunately, put under the umbrella of All Our Relations, but who are all verified and are all families that need somebody. So if anyone is interested, I can connect you, and all that really, all you need to be is somebody to talk to on the other end of the phone, primarily. Fundraising is also very helpful for the family. That they would love that, of course, but just to know that they haven't been forgotten, just to offer a bit of your humanity, and honestly, you will have a new family in your life. So I swear to God, George and I get more out of all. We certainly get more out of it than the families do. But yeah, it's life changing, and I recommend it.
Completely.
Well, it's in the name, All Our Relations. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, Georgia and Jen. It's been awesome to have you guys on. So I will link you both and also All Our Relations in the show notes, so anyone is able to get in touch with you, find your organisation, and continue to show support and solidarity. So thank you so much. A real honour and pleasure to have you guys here.
Thank you, Megan. Thanks for asking us. It's been great.
Yes, thank you so much, Megan. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. It's great to have you with me on this journey towards higher love for all. Our time is our greatest commodity and gift, so thanks for investing it in yourself and sharing it with me. Please do take a moment to rate and review the show, all of which enables more people to find me and for me to connect with more great guests each week for both yours and my enjoyment. All links, references and contact information is detailed too within the show notes. And I always love to hear your feedback, so feel free to hit me up on my Instagram at higherlove_with_Megan or via my website higher-love.com. Send your takeaways, and if you enjoyed this episode, please share or send on to someone else who would benefit. Until next time, big love.